members of the class of 2025 from down the street, across the country, and around the world. Around the world, just as it should be.
When the Harvard community, about 30,000 of them at a commencement at Harvard today in Cambridge, learned that just moments before a federal judge 9 miles away in Boston had ruled in their favor and had set another order and injunction against the Trump administration. Not only did the murmurs go through the crowd, but when Alan Garber, the fearless leader of Harvard, the president of Harvard, hit the stage for the commencement speech, he was met with thunderous applause. Yes, for his courage, but also a rebuke of the Trump administration. That's the split screen I can get behind. Allison Burroughs, judge, federal court in Boston, entering a preliminary injunction. I'll talk about when we're going to see the actual writing, but I'll tell you what it means to stop Donald Trump from destroying the very character, culture, and values of Harvard by making it expel and get rid of 27% of its student body who happen to be from a foreign country. That's not what Judge Burroughs thinks. She thinks a preliminary injunction should be placed now to block any attempts to destroy Harvard University, the thing that makes Harvard, Harvard. And that's why I love the fact that we no longer have the luxury of a silent majority. We got to stand up. We got to open the window. We got to stick our head out. And we got to tell everybody who can hear us that we're mad as hell. We're not going to take it anymore. And that's what we saw today in Harvard. I'm Michael Popok. I want to report on it right here for you on Legal AF. Let's talk about Alan Garber. Let's talk about that applause. First, how did we get there? There's two separate sets of cases involving Harvard. I'm going to unseparate them. I'm going to separate them for you now, so you understand which one I'm talking about. There's the group of case. There's a case that involves the $3 billion of funding that Donald Trump is trying to cut off against Harvard. That's one case. There's a second case about Donald Trump going after the lifeblood of Harvard, its international student body, which comprises a large percentage of its School of Diplomacy, the Kennedy School, and a large percentage of the Harvard Business School, the HBS. And if they're not able to bring in foreign and exchange students, they are going to die because they have competitors. Harvard is maybe the oldest and one of the most prestigious. You can put it in the top 5, top 3, maybe even top 2, 1 in the country, but it's got competitors within the Ivy League. I'm looking at you, Yale, and in other places that are competitive with Harvard, Stanford, Duke, and fill in the blank, Georgetown, fill in the blank. So if you take away just arbitrarily and capriciously, because under the false flag of we're fighting anti-Semitism on Harvard campus, anti-Semitism on Harvard campus, there's a large percentage of Jewish people that are in faculty and in student body on Harvard campus. Sure, they were the scene of some protests, some of which I would say were ugly protests, but I'm not scared by spray-painted bed sheets in Harvard Square, and neither should you be. That's what the First Amendment's about. You don't like it? Turn the channel. You don't like it? Don't listen to it. As long as they're not terrorists, they have the right to say it and get an education in the United States, as long as they don't violate any other policies. So the case I'm talking about with Judge Burroughs is about Donald Trump trying to kick Harvard in the balls and take away 25%, 27% of its student body and putting it at a competitive disadvantage with all the other universities. She entered last week a temporary restraining order. We were all like, yay. Jenner and Block, one of the law firms that also obtained a temporary restraining order because Donald Trump put that firm on the blacklist and try to take away all of their revenue and their ability to conduct themselves before federal prosecutions and represent clients before the federal government. They are also representing Harvard. So in one day, they obtained their own injunction, and they obtained the injunction of the temporary restraining order from Judge Burroughs. So on the food chain, you start with an administrative stay. That lasts hours. Temporary restraining order can last days or weeks. Preliminary injunction lasts till the end of the case. And now we've got the preliminary injunction to return to the status quo before Donald Trump started to attack Harvard, keeping them in all of these same programs, letting them participate, letting them continue to bring in and recruit international students, have them in the summer program, have them in the entering class of 2025 and 2026 and beyond. That's what this order does. Now, I don't have a copy of it. Nobody does yet, because she issued it from the bench and instructed the parties to work on a preliminary injunction that preserves the status quo. The Harvard lawyers, knowing that the Trump lawyers, the Department of Justice, can't be trusted, told the judge, well, what happens if we can't agree on an order to submit to you? She said, try to work it out. This is what judges do. Work out an agreed order, a joint order. If you can't do it, which I'll look at, then send competing orders in, and I'll choose between them, or I'll work on one of them for my final thoughts. That's what judges do. That's why they say, in the old days, they used to say, send it in on a disk. Now they say, send an electronic copy in Word, and I will edit it. So that's what she's done. But the injunction is in place. She's keeping the temporary restraining order from last week in place while they work on the preliminary injunction. But she has, from the bench, orally issued the preliminary injunction. This news made its way 9 miles away, of course, to Harvard. Not only the Harvard Crimson, go student journalism, but also, people with cell phones in the crowd who learned that Judge Burroughs at that hearing, everybody's watching it. And that started, there was a lot of murmuring going on at commencement. Yes, this is commencement season. And so Garber takes the stage and hits some thunderous applause, which is yes, to compliment his courage and his leadership at a time of crisis, which is commendable. But it's also a stinging rebuke of Donald Trump. Listen to this clip. See, I couldn't lead with that clip because you'd think I was just doing like some sort of commencement speech where they tell you to wear more sunscreen. But there's a message in there. Donald Trump is a unifier. He unifies people and nations and countries against him, and ultimately sometimes against the United States. He unified a divided Harvard campus behind Garber's leadership, and you heard it there. I love the split screen moment, 9 miles apart, Cambridge and Boston. For those in that area, if I'm off by a couple of miles, put it in comments. So what's going to happen next? I'm going to report on the submission of either competing orders on the docket, the electronic docket, or one order. It's going to be competing orders. And the judge is going to have to pick between them and then make her own order out of that. Sometime early next week, we're going to have, maybe over the weekend, we're going to have a preliminary injunction in place. And then Donald Trump is going to have to try to take the appeal. He'll have to try to take it up to the First Circuit Court of Appeals, which he doesn't like, or he'll try to skip it and go over to the United States Supreme Court. But I think he's stuck with the First Circuit Court of Appeals, and then we go from there. One other interesting fact that came up in the hearing. Last night, Donald Trump decided to press a losing hand, and he put Harvard on notice before the hearing that he was going to force them through an administrative process and give them 30 days to respond about taking away their ability to participate in the foreign exchange program. And the judge said, yeah, we're not doing that either. My temporary restraining order applies to that. And the status quo applies to this new development, this new wrinkle as well. You got to give Donald Trump an A for consistency. He just presses this losing hand. We'll continue to follow it right here on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the subscribe button, if you will. It would really help us grow our channel. Come on over to the Substack for Legal AF, where I'll be posting these orders once they're available under Filings AF. What else? And my morning briefing every day about law and politics called Morning AF. You can also get on the Legal AF Substack. So I'm glad you're here. We appreciate y'all. I'm Michael Popok. Until my next report. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF. and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states, and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.